Hey guys, welcome back to another First Impressions. This time around, I'll be taking a look at OK Not OK, the 20th anniversary edition of Radiohead's classic OK Computer. For this particular First Impressions, I'm not going to be going over every song because I already made a whole review on OK Computer. So for this one, I'm only going to be focusing on the third disc, and that contains all the B-sides plus the 3 unreleased tracks. And speaking of which, let's kick things off with I Promise. Now this one has kind of a somber yet uplifting feeling throughout, which I find very interesting, just that juxtaposition of those two. And I actually really like the strings on here. One of the things I really enjoy about I Promise is the chunky acoustic guitar. I love the sound of it. I'm a real nitpicker when it comes to acoustic guitar recordings. You gotta mic it, you can't plug an acoustic guitar in and record it that way. It sounds terrible with a pickup. So really it's gotta be mic'd. Just the sound of it, you can tell those are new strings on there. It's got a nice hollow body sound. I really like that. But of the 3 unreleased tracks, this one is probably my least favorite. That doesn't mean it's not good. I enjoy this song. I just find the other 2 a little more interesting. And speaking of which, we're gonna jump down to track 2. This is Man of War.
Drift are you like from ocean to ocean? Search the whole world.
And this has gotta be my favorite of the unreleased tracks. I'm so thankful that they released this song. It's just really, really good. But what I find interesting, it had its roots in another song called Big Boots, and they were playing that during their '96 tour. But what this song is a homage to James Bond movie themes. And once you know that, everything clicks on it.
Yeah, the world will come for you.
But what's interesting is that while they were recording it for OK Computer in '97, it didn't come together, and they tried it again in '98, and I don't know, I guess they left it as is and they didn't really do much with it. And that's essentially the recording that we hear on this. It's from '98. However, what they did is that in 2015, or maybe it was 2014, they were commissioned to write a song for James Bond's Spectre, and they finished up Man of War and presented that to the producers. And while they loved it, they found out that that was an old song and it wasn't written for the film, and therefore it would negate its ability to be nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. So they rejected it on those grounds, even though they liked it, and so they wrote the song Spectre, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard. I love that song, but they ultimately rejected that song because it was too melancholy. Whatever. I think they should have gone with Spectre. I love that song. It's a great song. We're gonna move on to track 3, which is Lift.
Sit down, you're safe.
This to me is such a great companion song to Let Down, which is on the album. They fit so well together, both thematically and musically. I feel like they're like twin brothers. They're doing their own thing, but they run along parallel lines. What's interesting is that they were performing this song live during their '96 tour with Alanis Morissette, but they just felt it didn't fit with the rest of the record. I have to agree with them. As much as I enjoy this song, it is similar to Let Down. I think that's kind of the issue. I think Let Down is a stronger song than this, and if you have one or the other, I think you would go with Let Down and let this one go. So track 4 is called Lull, and this is another stellar song.
snapped and lost control.
I love everything that's going on in this song. The only thing that I just feel it's a little too short. That's my only criticism. Rounding out side 5, we have Meeting in the Aisle, and this is an instrumental song. Overall, it doesn't feel as fleshed out as the rest of the songs off side 5. That being said, however, it reminds me more of like an interlude song. Like, to me, Fitter Happier is an interlude song. It's kind of in the middle of the record. And this song, too, is in the middle of the record. I'm not on the fence about it. I enjoy it. I just, you know, if I'm gonna put on my critical thinker hat here, it's just not as strong. Side 6 opens with Melatonin, and I love the Vangelis style opening of this song. One of the elements I really enjoy is how the chord changes don't quite match up with the notes that Tom is hitting. Like, he'll change and then like a second later the chords will change appropriate to the note. It's not quite perfect. I love that sort of imperfection that they put into this song. Another thing I really like are the drums. They're doing this kind of funny, syncopated, almost unbalanced kind of feel to them, like a horse that has a bit of a limp, like it's doing this, like an engine lope, like it has an unbalanced piston. I really like the feel of that. Kind of, again, lends that imperfection to the song. For me, the first time hearing this, it makes sense why this was a B-side, because it doesn't quite match up to the level of OK Computer as a whole. Track 2 is A Reminder, and I don't have a lot to say about it. I enjoy it. I like the down-tempo feel about it, and actually it reminds me a bit of a bolero. See what you guys think.
If I get old, I'll not give in.
Track 3 is Polyethylene Parts 1 and 2, and this one is literally 2 parts. There's a definite break between the 2 parts. The first is it's low key, it's just guitar and vocals. But then the second part comes in, oh my gosh, big sound, you got loud drums, loud bass, very much more dynamic, a lot more energy to it. I'm not quite sure how the 2 parts relate. It makes me wonder if this is how songs like Paranoid Android got put together. They started off as different songs and then they put them together to make Paranoid Android. And it makes me wonder if this was another instance, like these were just bits of songs that, you know, they were playing around with and they weren't sure exactly where they were gonna go. And so maybe at some point to them, these 2 felt right together. Interesting window into how Radiohead works, at least at this time. Track 4 is Pearly, and what I really love about this is there are some double-tracked vocals, maybe even triple-track. But what's interesting is that at times they're doing a harmony, right? But then as the song progresses, there's moments where that bassier vocal part is doing different things, singing different parts, and they come together and they separate. They come together and they separate. And I love the sound of that, the feeling of that in this song. great song overall. I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. Track 5 is Palo Alto.
In a city of the future, it is difficult to find escape.
Overall, I enjoy the guitar work in this song. And there's moments between the verse and choruses, there's like these little breakdown sections, and the guitar is doing some really interesting things. Maybe even 2 guitars. I don't really enjoy the chorus melody on this. I just don't find it that interesting. It feels very kind of one note throughout. I don't get a lot of, I don't know, just it feels like older Radiohead and not Radiohead of the OK Computer era, if that makes any sense. It's not a bad song whatsoever. It's just not something I'm gonna go back and listen to over and over again.
Thanks for asking, thanks for asking. I'm okay. How are you?
The last song on here is How I Made My Millions, and this is such an appropriate closer of a song. I love the intimacy of the recording quality. It feels very much you're in the room with Tom while he's playing piano and singing. The piano sounds so good because you can hear the keys being pressed. Like there's weight to them. You can hear the inner workings of, it sounds like an upright piano. I don't really know, I'm no expert, but that's what it sounds to me. And what I really like is that you can hear at times some of the more bassier notes on the piano are rattling the snare drum. Yeah, I love just the feeling of Tom's voice. It feels like a warm firelight just kind of flickering, like it's a fire that once had a lot of power, but now it's sort of burned up a lot of the fuel, and now it's just sort of embers and a little bit of a fire, and it's still going, it's still warm, but man, it's letting off a little bit of light, and it's really beautiful overall. All right, so let's talk about the packaging here. What I find interesting is that on the cover, it looks very similar to the original release of OK Computer. If you look at this release in a digital format, it has a very different cover. Now this is a tri-fold LP. So let's open up the first gatefold. Get some nice imagery right there. Here's the second gatefold. And down here you have a dedication to Dr. Rachel Owen, who died in 2016 when they were in works of putting this together. So she was Tom's ex-girlfriend. I believe they were together at the time of this album, originally back in '97. They had since gone their separate ways. But yeah, she died after a long and brave battle with cancer. And what I like is that right here they wrote, "We hope you're okay. Thank you for listening." Really nice touch. And on the back there, we have the track listings. What's interesting as you scroll down, it's numbered 1 through 23. And right here, you have the logical track order. And this is different from the original release. Each side has a different name. So you have IP for side 1, Skip for side 2, Sky for side 3, Blue for side 4, Who's for side 5, and It for side 6. So let's talk about the inner sleeves here. This is the sleeve for the first record. Here's the sleeve for record 2 and the other side. And finally, here is the sleeve for record 3. Now you can get this on blue vinyl. It was a limited edition. This one is on standard black vinyl. So here is side Who's, which is side 5. And then here is side It, which is side 6. And basically all records share a very similar label design with the XL and the 2 people shaking hands, which I love that imagery right there. One thing to note, by the very nature of the way these are constructed, you will be hard pressed to find one in mint condition if you're picking one up new. Like this particular, it got dented on this corner. It's dented here, it's dented there, there's some bends there, and it's just the nature of this thing. It's big, it's bulky, even new, it's prone to having defects. So just know that if you're gonna pick up a copy, if you're lucky enough, there'll be several copies and you can pick one that looks the best, but chances are it's not going to be perfect and you got to live with that. But to me, it's more about the music. I'm okay. I can live with that. It's not a big deal. Chances are I'm probably going to drop this at some point and do that anyway. So not a big deal. And lastly, it does come with a digital download code. Okay guys, that has been OK Not OK by Radiohead. This is the 20th anniversary edition of OK Computer. Overall, while I did enjoy listening to all these B-sides and the 3 unreleased tracks, I can understand why they didn't make the final cut. Not that these songs aren't great, but within the context of OK Computer, I think Radiohead made the right decisions in crafting that album. It is a wonderfully shaped record on its own, and these are just the supplemental materials. These aren't necessarily bad songs. In some respects, these are just more ideas, sonic sketch pads, if you will, and I don't think they would feel right interspersed throughout OK Computer, but having them as a third disc separate from the complete record, I think makes a lot of sense. Also, majority of these, save for the 3 unreleased tracks, were all released as B-sides. And if you're a collector, you know how hard it is to find all those singles, and it can be such a pain in the ass. So having it all on one disc makes it so much easier, and it just adds to the overall listening experience. I do really recommend picking this up if you haven't already. It is the extended edition of OK Computer. A fantastic album on its own, and this just adds to it. So anyway guys, I recommend picking this up. Okay guys, this is the part where you tell me what you think of this album. I'm really curious to know if you're a diehard fan, if you're a casual listener, what did you think of all the B-sides, especially the 3 unreleased tracks? Until then, thank you so much for watching. I am your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Hey guys, thanks again for checking out this first impressions of OK Not OK, the 20th anniversary edition of OK Computer. And speaking of which, if you haven't seen it already, I highly encourage you to check out my review of OK Computer. But if you already have, I put a playlist of other first impressions, so go ahead and click away.